The cabin that moves at night. I never believed in the supernatural. As a child, I was fascinated by the stories my grandmother told me about haunted places and creatures lurking in the shadows. But I always thought they were just stories, tales meant to entertain, not something to be taken seriously. That was until I spent a week at my cousin's cabin in the woods. The cabin was secluded, nestled deep in a forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was the perfect getaway for a weekend of solitude. I arrived with my bags and my camera, excited to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and to spend some time alone with nature. From the moment I stepped inside, I felt a strange energy in the air. It was as if the cabin itself was alive. The floorboards creaked in a way that felt almost deliberate, as though they were trying to communicate with me. I shrugged it off as the usual sounds of an old wooden structure and settled in for the night. That evening, everything seemed normal. I made myself a simple dinner, read a book by the fire, and went to bed early. But as I drifted off to sleep, I heard something that made my blood run cold. A faint sound like a scraping or dragging echoed through the walls. At first, I thought it was an animal outside, or maybe a branch scraping against the window. But as the sound grew louder and more distinct, I realized something wasn't right. The noise came from beneath the floor, as if something or someone was moving around underneath. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But the sound continued, growing louder and more persistent. I could feel my heart racing in my chest as the noise moved around the cabin, circling beneath me, like it was searching for something. Unable to bear it any longer, I got out of bed and grabbed a flashlight. I crept cautiously down the stairs, trying to be as quiet as possible. The cabin felt colder now, and the air was thick with an eerie stillness. I shone the light around the room, half expecting to see something, or someone, lurking in the shadows. But there was nothing. The floor was empty, and the only sound was the faint hum of the fridge and the crackling of the fire in the other room. I sighed in relief, thinking it must have been a raccoon or something similar, and headed back to bed. But as I lay there staring at the ceiling, I began to feel it again, an unsettling presence, like something was watching me. The sensation was overwhelming, as if the very walls of the cabin were closing in around me. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, the sound from beneath the floor would start again. It was like a slow, rhythmic dragging sound, like something heavy was being pulled across the cabin's foundation. It was maddening. The next morning I was exhausted, but I decided to go out for a walk to clear my head. The sun was shining brightly, and the air was crisp and fresh. I walked through the woods, trying to shake off the lingering feeling of unease, but it didn't go away. I couldn't stop thinking about the strange noises and the feeling that something was wrong with the cabin. That night I stayed up late, determined to find out what was causing the noises. I had to know what was going on. The cabin was old, yes, but there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe a small animal had gotten trapped somewhere in the walls. Maybe it was just the house settling. But as midnight approached, the noises started again. They were louder this time, more frantic, as if something was trying to escape. My heart began to pound as I stood frozen in place. The noise wasn't coming from beneath the floor anymore. It was coming from the walls. It sounded like something was clawing at the wood, scratching and scraping, trying to break through. Terrified, I grabbed my phone and called my cousin. Her voice was calm on the other end of the line, but when I told her what had been happening, she went quiet. After a long pause, she spoke. "You're not supposed to stay there overnight," she said. "That cabin, it's not just a place. It's something else. It moves." I felt a cold chill run down my spine as I tried to process what she was saying. "What do you mean it moves?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The cabin. It's been moving for years. It's not a place you can just stay in. It shifts position when the sun sets. It moves in and out of different dimensions. It's been like this for generations. No one who has stayed there ever made it through the night." I didn't know how to respond. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the impossible. "You have to leave now. Don't wait for morning. It's not safe." I ended the call, but before I could even think about packing my things, I heard it again. The noise. It was coming from every direction now, louder and more frantic. The walls were shaking, and I could hear something dragging across the floorboards. It sounded like it was coming closer, as if whatever was inside the cabin was trying to reach me. I bolted for the door, but when I opened it, I saw something that froze me in place. The woods outside had disappeared. There was no sign of the trees, no path leading out of the cabin. It was as if I was trapped in an endless void, surrounded by nothing but the cabin itself. In that moment, I realized the horrifying truth. The cabin wasn't just moving within the forest. It was shifting between realities, pulling everything around it into its twisted, nightmarish world. I ran back inside, but it was too late. The cabin was no longer a home. It was a prison, and I was its latest captive. The last thing I remember is the darkness closing in around me, the walls pressing in tighter and tighter. The sound of dragging grew louder, and then everything went black. I was never found. The cabin, along with its otherworldly presence, disappeared into the void. No one ever spoke of it again. The locals say it still moves, waiting for its next victim. And if you ever find yourself walking in the woods, alone at night, you may hear its call, the dragging sound of something terrible, waiting for you to step inside.